I always like to say that Dr. Munish has an Indian heart but an Irish soul. Why rhinoplasty? How did you get into it?
Amount of happiness you can actually give, and decided to actually turn my direction.
With an Indian perspective on a global scale, when you talk about body dysmorphic disorder, how did you think of the impact that it has on something like facial aesthetic surgery, whether rhinoplasty or any aesthetic surgery?
What is the most important thing in rhinoplasty? The most important thing in rhinoplasty is to make the person happier with their noses. I feel the best results are actually, you've done your job, you've done a great rhinoplasty, and like a kind of relay race, the patient takes the result and runs away with it. Wow.
Are there some pointers for surgeons to assess, okay, this is the patient I may send to a psychologist and this is a patient I may handle myself?
It's a very important question. So two parts of it. One is I do mandatory psychiatric evaluation. So I don't offer surgery if they are not happy to go.
Hello everyone, welcome to Faces and Perspectives with me, Dr. Pragati Shubha. This is where we are going to explore the ever-evolving world of facial aesthetic surgery with some of the brightest minds from across the globe. So let's begin. So today is the first episode in our series of podcasts, and what better way to start this series than the psychological assessment of rhinoplasty patients. Today I have the privilege of introducing to you a remarkable surgeon who's a dear friend all the way from Ireland. He's a renowned rhinoplasty expert, Dr. Munish Shandilya. I always like to say that Dr. Munish has an Indian heart but an Irish soul. So let's welcome Dr. Munish. Welcome, Dr. Munish, to our podcast today.
Thank you very much and for a very kind invitation. I would like to say hello to all your viewers and your students. You're doing an amazing job of teaching people how to progress in this Pragati in rhinoplasties and the associated, skill sets. So thanks.
Dr. Munish, I think the honor is ours. So Dr. Munish is from India, but I'd hope it's not too Indian of me to say that he's put India on a global map in rhinoplasty. And before we begin, I think all of us would like to know why rhinoplasty? How did you get into it?
Okay, so I say we start somewhere in the middle. So I trained in Maulana Azad Medical College. I did my MBBS there. I did my master's MS ENT. And went to Ireland. I thought, getting a foreign kind of stamp, a degree would be nice. And, it was the thing to do. So I did my fellowship, FRCS, and then I did the intercollegiate fellowship in Ireland. Typically from MAMC, you would do a lot of otology. So I was good at otology, all the fine work and all. And the interesting thing is that when I finished my intercollegiate, I happened to be in America for a week for a holiday. And I spent 1 week, there's a course called Goldman Tip Seminar. And there's an amazing set of teachers, Bobby Simon, Dean Toriumi, and the likes, and the person who has written the books, we know very well. So these people, watching them for about a week, I said, yeah, this is what I want to do. ENT is good. I've done ENT, and that's rhinoplasty would be my kind of thing to do, because what I liked about it was that the amount of happiness you can actually give to some patients, how you can change their lives. And so that was the starting point. And so I came back, I was finishing just before I got a first fellowship with my mentor, my everything in professional support, Professor Gilbert Nolst, Trinity in Amsterdam. Around that time, I was actually thinking of going to LA to the House Institute to do otology, and decided to actually turn my direction and went to Amsterdam. Spent 3 months there, and that's where the whole rhinoplasty thing started.
But before we go on to you crossing over, let's just try and understand. You're a Delhi boy.
Yes.
So your childhood was here. How was your childhood? How did it shape you to get into
So
being into medicine,
even
being a
before,
surgeon?
even before, I kind of remember myself starting my journey that I can remember in Kathmandu.
Really?
My dad, who was a civil engineer, was posted there. And so we were there for about 2, 3 years, and that's how I remember life. And from there onwards, like, they came back to Delhi and kind of started studying in Air Force School, Palam, Air Force Higher Secondary School, Palam, and amazingly good school. And so when I came to the leaving cert level, 10th, at that stage, I really liked biology. And I was dissecting animals and dissecting out the circulatory system was very fascinating for me. Always had a bit of interest in kind of, art forms, calligraphy, writing, and those kind of things. Carving. Diwali, after Diwali, we would kind of, make eggs of wax, and I would carve them into faces and all. So I don't know, somewhere the facial thing was there. And it's a good thing that I went to America to kind of do that course and got directed in the right direction, which has brought me. I'm very, very happy because I do what I really like and find very fascinating, try to kind of, improve it.
All right. Dr. Munish, of course, you practicing in Ireland, but you're from India, and I think through this podcast we also want to educate our patients because in India, I think it's a very yes or no answer. It's a very price sensitive patient market out there. So tell me, with an Indian perspective on a global scale, when you talk about body dysmorphic disorder, how did you think of the impact that it has on something like facial aesthetic surgery, whether rhinoplasty or any aesthetic surgery? So, how did that interest begin?
Yeah, very, very appropriate question. So when I finished my fellowship in Amsterdam, I came back to Dublin and started practicing in a couple of centers. And what I realized there was what one thing that I keep repeating is that what is the most important thing in rhinoplasty? The most important thing in rhinoplasty is to make the person happier with their noses. So nothing matters. Like, I mean, your results are very good. You put Instagram and everybody is clapping and all that. Nothing matters. If your patient is happy, you've done the job. On the other hand, if your patient is not happy, you made the money and whatever, people say you've done a great job, you show pictures and all that. It's useless because the one person that you want to make happy. So what is the most important part in a person's happiness is their perspective. I mean, how do they perceive the result? So a lot of times surgeons say, "Maine bada acha kaam." I've done a very, very good job, and I've made this very good results. But what the patient perceives is the most important thing. And where is that perception coming from? Upstairs. So you need to understand what is their kind of psychological makeup, what is their understanding, what will make them happy. The same result in 10 different people. They could be uh, twins or triplets or whatever, to completely similar people with the same background. They may perceive things differently. So you can do a good rhinoplasty. You can make amazing kind of technical, skilled, structured things, and you make them functionally very, very good. But the perception of a person makes. So I feel the best results are actually, you've done your job, you've done a great rhinoplasty, and like a kind of relay race, the patient takes the result and runs away with it. Wow, that I'm so happy, my life has changed. That's when you get the amazing results. So when I thought about that, so how can I evaluate these patients? So we have always read about psychological evaluation. Um, a lot of work that we have done in research is that the research was based on psychiatrists saying what BDD is, and they would say 30-40% of our population has BDD. My take is a bit different. I think BDD is not important, but it's the degree of BDD that is important.
Yes, yes.
And so, I mean, we would operate on BDD patients if they have good insight and good family structure, all the other things are good. So that's how the whole thing started. Other aspect of that is I was very lucky to find a psychiatrist who actually got interested in this, and we have all our 1,000 odd patients are actually seen by the same team, me as the surgeon and her as the psychiatrist. So there is a lot of uh, cohesive and kind of it's a very good data that we have published recently.
So, Dr. Munish, we practice in India, and for example, if a patient who's younger, and in India, even if you're 30 years old, you answer to your parents. So, for example, we do like to involve parents. In my practice, I don't take a youngster without their parents for consultation. I like to do 3 to 4 consultations before really taking them up for surgery.
What age would you operate on?
So it really depends. We have operated on 18, 19-year-olds as well.
Okay.
But my question to you is, in India, we face a lot of resistance from patients when we tell them to actually go visit a psychologist, or they're not very comfortable with it. So what do you tell to surgeons who have patients coming to them, who at least overtly are looking, okay, they may take the surgery well? Are there some pointers for surgeons to assess, okay, this is the patient I may send to a psychologist, and this is a patient I may handle myself?
It's a very important question. So two parts of it. One is I do mandatory psychiatric evaluation. So I don't offer surgery if they are not happy to go to the psychiatrist. So that question is kind of and people are told when they're looking for that do you offer rhinoplasty? My secretaries would tell them that this is who we are, and that you should read up about our blog and see kind of what we do. Uh, and the first part was I actually take that as an opportunity, because suppose your, say, 25-year-old child or youngster wants to have a rhinoplasty. If you go along with them, if you see a person who's showing that much interest in their well-being, you should actually be supportive of that. But if your patient is thinking more just for price link, and that somebody else offered the surgery without, they are on the wrong. So you should not move from what you're doing is the right thing, and you need to believe that, oh, am I doing the right thing? And when you actually kind of have the practice and the experience of this, you will realize that now I kind of sometimes, so we in the last 15 years, we have not operated on a single BDD person that we didn't realize they were. So we have never been caught with that. So that's the kind of expertise we have developed, and that means that we always know that, okay, this person may have problems with the results. The right kind of parent, the right kind of support group will actually appreciate what you're doing. And, the psychological evaluation is nearly something like maybe 5% of their cost of the whole thing. And the way I tell them is that, would you do a cardiac surgery without an ECG? So, that kind of puts them in the right thing. The only reason you want to not do an investigation is because of the money. So that's wrong. Your nose is going to be with you for a while.
Yes. And I think you've published a wonderful paper on body dysmorphic disorder.
3.
Yes, but the one in the facial plastic surgery, I've gone through it, and that's some very cohesive data. And I think the sample size is large. It's your
Yes.
years of experience and a lot of objective parameters to judge. But just if we talk about the people, I mean, the patients you've evaluated, what are the 5 questions a surgeon should not miss asking, even whether it's a psychological evaluation or not? And what are the questions the surgeon should be ready to answer and not run away from if a patient is, making those uncomfortable questions?
So I'll give you a slightly long, not too long, answer. So the first time I meet a patient, in the first evaluation, the evaluation actually starts from the time that I go out to meet and greet them and invite them into my room. And the secretaries are also kind of, making sure that the patients are comfortable and there's no problem with them. So what I do is I make some small talk. How was your trip down here? Sometimes they're driving 2 3 hours, and talk about that, make them comfortable, and so the first 5 minutes when you're chatting about various things, like I always ask them what age you are, what are you doing it nowadays, and talk a little bit about their profession. This is the time that gives you so the patient evaluation starts not only about the rhinoplasty. It is a person that you are going to have a big journey, long journey with. If the journey starts, you're going to meeting them at least 10 to 15 times. Is this the person you want to meet 10, 15 times? And at a situation where you're going to do one of their life's big choices. So I mean, all that. Similarly, the patient is sussing you out. Sussing is the Irish way of saying. So they are looking at you and saying, do I trust this person?
Yes.
Will I give him a knife and say, middle of my face, kind of, do some kind of artwork, and do they look kind of, that I can trust? And so that's the beginning of the journey. There's a list of things, like there are red flag signs. Uh, you know, so typically it's described like a young woman is considered a young woman who already knows who you are, what you've been doing, and almost looks like happy to meet you, like as if they know you. So these are people who have done research, who are actually anticipating that they are going to have a journey, and that you are going to offer something nice to them, and the things that they have been thinking about. So there are no specific 4 or 5 questions. It's the whole kind of their
Demeanor of the
personality,
patient.
the demeanor, the kind of where they're coming from, why do they want the rhinoplasty, what will that do to their life, and that is where the sort of my evaluation and the psychiatrist evaluation are intermingled, because the psychiatrist is going to ask them about their journey, childhood, any traumas, things like that. These things are very important. Some research done in America, and what nearly everybody finds is that people who have had trauma, various types of traumas during their life, uh, these patients can be vulnerable to kind of poor results and all. And you can't say that you do a bad rhinoplasty and put the blame to something else. But the thing is, for something that important, it's a very important journey. It's a very important thing to operate on somebody's face. It can make them very, very happy, or can also leave them unhappy. So to understand your patient very, very well, it's almost like kind of going almost to a level where when you meet them again and again, it's like somebody you have met before. How's your career going? How are kids? It works like that. And so it's questions that I would definitely ask are. I like to kind of take them through what is their expectation is very important, and that's the second part of how they perceive the result. Before that comes, how what are they expecting. So what I do is I do photography myself at the time of meeting them the first time, and there and then I use Photoshop, I think, and I do digital morphing. There and then I show them, is this something that you're looking for? With experience now, I'm able to kind of show them within 3 4 minutes what I think will be good for them. If we are on the same page, then we are already half the way there. If a person is not sure what they're looking for, that's a doubtful start. So sometimes you can say, that people don't know what exactly they're looking for. That's fine. But people who are actually very, very good candidates for surgery, they have a very good idea
Yes.
what they're looking for. And a confusion between, like, uh, slightly flatter or more kind of ski slope, or that ongoing confusion is not a good start.
Yes.
So these are things that you kind of develop over the years. Kind of you keep. It's like communication. Like with time we just know how to talk. Yeah,
Yes.
we know how to talk. We know how to make friends. We also know how to to reduce unnecessary kind of interaction. All
Yes.
so the whole thing is a communication skill.
I agree. And I think in a country like India, something you may not have faced in Ireland is I remember I came to the clinic one day and I had 10 people sitting on my couch. I thought I'm going to have a good surgical day where there are 10
They
consultations.
were all one family.
They were all one family, and
That's good.
surprisingly, no, but they were the in laws of the girl. And so I took
Who
the
was
girl,
paying?
I think the in laws. But I took the girl in. Even I like to take my photographs myself. And because there was such a jing bang, I said, "You guys wait outside, I'll take her photographs." When I went into the photography room, she asks me, "Ma'am, do you think there's something wrong with my nose?" And I'm a little shocked. I'm like, "Aren't you here for a rhinoplasty?" And she says to me, "I don't want one. My in laws want me to get one." And that's my red flag sign, definitely. We didn't take
That's
her
a
up for surgery.
that's a
But yes,
total no-no.
yeah, so
Like,
that's like a total no no way.
yeah.
You should not jump at the idea of surgery, especially.
We have a full, complete list of red flags which keeps increasing.
Yes,
But the thing
agreed.
is, one also has to be very careful because the respect to the patient is utmost, right? I mean,
Yes.
you can't say these are red flag, red
Yeah,
flag, red.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, so they are there to help the patient
Yes.
and basically not pick up the wrong person and give them the wrong
Yeah.
expectations.
Yes, wrong
And
expectations also I think is very true because in India we have very broad noses. So how do you deal again with people and like for me an expectation someone from south of India or even North Indians with very thick skin, broad noses expecting a very Caucasian nose. Now that's of course an unrealistic expectation.
so when I'm looking at a person, so that within that first hour or 45 minutes, I'm looking at the person, I'm talking to them, looking at the personality, I'm looking at the nose. So there are nose factors, then there are personality person factors. So is this a nose I can improve to make this person happier? If that, and the thing is, for whatever reason, so psychology part comes in between. So if I feel that the nose is lovely, I would love to operate on this nose. This person, he or she, will look very very good with this. But the personality is, you are not sure, is this person insightful? Insightful is a person who can communicate with themselves, they understand themselves. So, in case of trouble, you can talk to them and they can talk to themselves. So, there's communication. If the insight is not great, if they are slightly delusional and they are staying on their own path, that this is what I'm looking for and not listening to you, those are things which are not likely to get good.
And what about how does a happy patient make you feel when they come back? I
Oh,
think
makes
that
my day. And absolutely. So, I mean, you are, as a surgeon, you have to be your own critic. Like, I think the most, it is not necessarily like, people who do rhinoplasties, they would do many, many, things about nose. Uh, to me, my kind of this thing is to cosmetic rhinoplasty, improving a primary rhinoplasty in a safe, reproducible manner, where 90% of the patients are, uh, is I think the benchmark for me. That if I can keep on doing that and making, say, 90+% people happier. So we do audit. We have published the audit also recently. So what we have published is like 90% of our patients reported their results, visual analog score, as a 7, 8, 9, or 10 out of 10. 25% actually said they were 100%, 10 out of 10. I say, yeah, sure.
but that's a
Because
good number to have, I think.
no, but I mean, the thing is that basically is a number of people who are happy. You don't think they're 10 out of 10, but the fact that they think it's 10 out of 10 is great.
Yeah, I
It's
think
very,
so.
very good.
I mean,
But then you have,
better than you thinking it's a 10 on 10 and they thinking it's a
exactly, I
1.
mean, that's where the trick is. In rhinoplasty, you have to really be grounded. The day you start, believing your own hype, that'll be the last day of your
No,
rhinoplasty
very,
surgery.
very a valid point. But I'd just like to go back a little, Dr. Munish, and I think, you talking about being in otology and now practicing rhinoplasty, I think that's such an important point to make because even I've done my share of cochlear implant, tonsil, left all of that behind. And a lot of times when patients come to us, like I said, in India, the entire question is, what's the price? What's the price? Without understanding how complicated and complex and advanced rhinoplasty is. And someone who's working exclusively in it, I think, just has that upper edge. Now, I do want to talk a little about your mentorship and training under Dr. Trinity. And if you could, because we also have a lot of young surgeons who are, viewing the podcast, listening to it. Also, a lot of patients who are on our channel. What would you want to tell them about a good mentorship, a good training, having the right mentor? What's your take on that?
So, very, very important question. I didn't know how I kind of planned it, but when I was looking for a mentor, what I liked about Professor Trinity was that he's very kind of basic from down to up type of approach. Like when he is a one of the kind of most well known people
Yes.
trainers of our times. Like Amsterdam course that they're running now is a very now there are so many courses. Uh, but what I wanted to do was to actually stay with somebody and what something like that Gurukul thing, like that you go and stay with somebody and
Surrender.
just surrender and not learn just the skill that you are there for, but also to see how they behave with the patient, how they run the structure, their kind of professional setup. Everything is to be learned, and how it's a kind of every good professional has a very structured system, so you pick from that. So I used to kind of for 15, 20 years I used to go to America, watch the best surgeons, and wouldn't necessarily come back and start doing shield grafts or spreader grafts or this graft or that graft. So I kept working on the very simple techniques. That's you have to see what is your patient set, what is your structure, what are your patients looking for, what is enough to make them happy, and are you able to reproduce it again and again and learn from your results. uh, you look at other people and their techniques to pick up, because you're going to get stuck sometimes, and then you're going to need all these kind of armamentarium of skills and all. But at the end of the day, everything saves you if you yourself have the experience of doing it. Keep it simple, and and build on your own practice. The confidence in when you start with that type of skill set and ethos, you are likely to do a very, very solid structure. Your practice will be solid, your thought process will be solid, you believe in it. Because sometimes, oh, he certainly said that kind of, that's the way to do it. What I've been doing it, American kind of, top surgeons having done thousands and thousands of amazing results, lectures and everything, um, they are starting to do other things because it's a challenge for them. We have done this. Now let's see if we can kind of
Try
do
this,
this
yeah.
also. That's interesting. But for me, I think the most important thing is I don't want to kind of show off to anybody. I want to have happier patients. So I'll do what is the simplest for me in my hands, what I feel that I can reproduce. And every single patient, you get somebody from say 4 or 5 on a visual scale to 7 or 8. Your job is done. They will be happy. Sometimes you'll have amazing results, and but that's not what you need to be working for. In a situation, you need to, safety is the biggest thing. Do no harm. When I worked with Professor Trinity, um, the one thing I realized was that he was doing kind of his way of doing surgery was uh, uh, not extremely complicated, not crazy grafts, not kind of. It was about doing the right things right, uh, again and again and again.
Yes.
So I'm a simple surgeon for the person next door.
No, I think that's something for most of us to learn. And Dr. Basir, my mentor, Dr. Basir,
Yes.
and he has a great presentation which he gives in in conferences, and he
Yes.
says that time has taught me to be humble,
Yes.
and it's taught me what not to do. So I think enough about rhinoplasty. People also want to know you, Dr. Munish. And so, Delhi boy, we know you moved and you became a global citizen. But does the heart still lie in India?
I'm here in India every year. Last year I was here 3 times. Um, Dr. VP Sood used to run this course, and I used to come with that. A couple of our friends would come for those courses. Uh, Unfortunately, he passed away. So I was actually invited by a friend for the oration
Yes.
in Lady Harding Medical College. So times like that are very humbling. And yeah, so yeah, so last year 3 times the course that you guys run
Yes.
very very well with Dr. Basser, and one time was a wedding, friend's daughter's wedding. Went to Jaipur. So yeah, the we are kind of I have no so we have friends like when some people will kind of say whichever country they are that they belong. I think there's no point. I mean, it's a privilege to be working in Ireland. It has given me a lot of opportunities and very very good social life. We have amazing good friends in Ireland, but India connection with India doesn't go.
And I know that one of your sons is a psychiatrist, and I think that's where.
He's the only
Did you
son.
force him into it? Is my question.
Well,
As many Indian
if I could
parents
force
do.
him, if I could force him into something, I would have forced him into medicine to kind of would have. But no, it's he kind of I mean, so he's our only child, and he's 25 soon. God bless. And so when he decided he didn't want to do medicine, then they used to be in a band, their school band, and did very very well. Played in front of 25,000 people, and so he and another band member wanted to do psychology, so they did psychology from Trinity College.
Okay.
Abhi recently has done masters in that, and he was part of my. So he was very helpful for. So I have a private practice. I don't have 10 students around me, kind of So he was very helpful and very instrumental in doing research. So he works as a research assistant in my practice, and the 3 publications that we have published in the Facial Plastic Surgery Journal this year, we are co-authors. So
Is he doing all the work, or are you doing something?
so it's like it's a lounge practice, like so we are both thinking, and he's doing the typing, and he's doing the
Yes.
research. So all I have to do is just think and give ideas. It's a big help. I couldn't have done all that kind of on my own.
I think it's important for doctors to have passions. A lot of us,
Yes.
our passions die over the years. We get so caught up in practice, and I think what this podcast has been about the psychology of patients. But what about mental well-being of us, and who's your support system through this entire journey of being a doctor, a surgeon, dealing with patients, and then coming back home
I think
with that baggage?
I don't know. It's difficult to think that way. The support system has been, I suppose, the way, and I'm thinking now about this answer. So it is basically no obstruction anywhere. So no obstruction during school time, like whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I think no obstruction is also a support of a kind.
Yeah, I mean so nobody kind of at any stage. So from my family, like so if she's interested in doing something, so the support is obviously like not saying what are you doing, or kind of same thing here, like So the fact that I went away, I could go away for fellowship, and I decided
Exactly, yeah.
Ireland and Amsterdam are not that far. Plan was that every month I'll go back. And then we decided, no, I'm going to do research while I'm there. So for 3 months I stayed there. So that Gurukul thing I said, you need to imbibe, you need to kind of, so that a wife who kind of covered everything and, just, I don't have to ever think at house level.
how things will be taken care of. Yeah.
you know that they'll be taken care
Yeah,
of and
yeah.
well. So
So well
that's the
said.
support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. But we do have a fun round also.
Oh,
Are you
these are
from?
the ones where you make fun of the.
No, no, no.
It,
We're gonna use some Gen Z language. Do you know the meaning of slay and may?
slay and
May. So
may.
slay is if you love something. The Gen Z says slay, and when
I
you
thought slay is काट दो.
नहीं वो पुराना जमाना हो
अच्छा.
गया
May
old school.
May तो वो होता
May
है
is
ना.
like May, like I don't
No.
like it. Yes,
Yeah,
good.
that
So
I got.
you're kind of up to it. So
There.
yes, so it's a slay and May segment. So scrubs all day.
Yeah, but I would say because I would, so I do 2 or 3 surgeries at the most in one day. So it's like scrubbing off and by gone. So it's not all day, but I wouldn't say May because that sounds wrong.
Yeah.
I love
All
to do
right.
it.
I love wearing scrubs.
Yeah.
I know
Formals I don't. I'm not into
formals.
at all.
Okay, great. I know the answer to the next one, but still, 6 a.m. surgeries, early morning surgeries.
Never done it.
Never done it. So that's a May.
My early surgery would be 9 o'clock, and my typical day. So all my clinics and everything is typically in the afternoon, and usually on a Monday after a weekend. So I don't like to kind of you need to do things in a very nice, easy peasy way.
Good. Mentoring the next generation of rhinoplasty surgeons.
Uh, very important. Very important. Um, Somehow teaching for me, I can teach one person. I couldn't teach 30. And for me, kind of, I mean, it's a bit like the way I was, like, I mean, I would try and kind of, be useful to the teacher so that they would teach me.
Well, I think you're a great teacher. I've seen your lectures and I think they're very insightful, very comprehensive. So I would say that's definitely a slave for you, mentoring students.
That's very kind of you. I liked hearing that.
So not
Of
being
Ireland.
disloyal, but then Irish stew or Delhi street food? Or should I say Nihari then?
I've actually once traveled to India for 3 days just to eat. This time before coming here, I checked where is the best saag I can get in Delhi.
Okay.
And I was surprised actually because they said Khanmark, Patara Road,
Okay.
and a couple of names like that, which I thought surprising, but they were good.
I don't know. Pandara Road is Gulati. We have a Gulati's next
Huh.
door if you want to
No,
have saag.
I found a friend. I'll say his name. He'll be delighted. Sunil Gai runs a restaurant in Ireland. A little bit of advertising.
Mr. Sunil, sponsor the podcast.
This is a family of Michelin star kind of,
Okay.
So he is easily the best Indian. So I mean, I've been to so many Indians. If I had to have one restaurant in Ireland, it would be his. He makes amazing chola bhaturas, amazing everything. Kind of, right from bottom to up. They make everything. He's a bit like, the reason we became very, very good friends is because he's a bit like me. That, very important to do what you're doing right. And don't leave it to others to do it for you. So,
Shout out, Mr. Sunil.
shout out Sunil Guy.
Maybe we see his catering in
You
Dublin
will,
for EFPS.
you will. I'm actually, I've already booked a couple of tables, or not tables, but days for that.
Oh, well, lovely. And okay, I think this other question becomes boring in front of the food that we've been talking about. But headlight or surgical loops? Let's have one from them.
Surgical loops all the time, even for basic septoplasty.
Thank you so much, Dr. Munish, for this insightful podcast. And thank you so much for accepting our invite for the podcast and traveling all the way to India for it. I think people overlook it. I mean, surgeons overlook it, patients overlook it, but you've really shed light on something which is not only important, but I think essential for all rhinoplasty surgeons as well as patients. So thank you so much for being with us today and enlightening our audience and us as well.
So it was a pleasure. It was like having a chat with a long lost friend. Like, we met only last year.
Yes.
And your work is amazing. I'm so impressed with a few of Indian entrepreneurs, health providers, and teachers, and the way you are expanding your skill set and the way you are expanding globally. So all the kind of very, very best. It is proud to see that, and hope to see you again.
Hope to see you too.
And hope to see you in Ireland.
Yes, and I think that's another invite to all budding or even experienced rhinoplasty surgeons to definitely attend the Dublin course, which is being conducted by EAFPS. Dr. Munish is the chair. He promises us good drinks and good food. So that's another advantage and another incentive for you to visit Dublin. And I'm sure with him as chair of that conference, it's going to be a great affair, going to be a very, very educational event.
Must say here there are 3 chairs for this. My good friends Alvin D'Souza
Yeah.
and McIntosh.
Okay. So Dr. Cameron and Dr. Alvid. So yes, but thank you so much once again.
Pleasure.
And thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to this. So we hope to see you next week. Do join in.